One evening, I called home. Mom answered after 3 rings, her tone cautious.
Mia. Yeah.
Just checking in.
You working now?
Yeah, and I moved to Jasmine's full-time, paying a small rent. She was quiet for a beat.
So you're really not coming back?
Not unless things change, I said. I can't live where respect feels optional. Mom sighed. You've always been dramatic.
No, Mom.
I've always been silent. You just didn't notice when I stopped talking. I could hear dishes clinking in the background, Jayla's voice faint. Mom said, "You know she misses you." I smiled sadly. If she did, she'd say it. She's struggling a bit. Grades slipping. That's unfortunate, I said softly, not out of spite but exhaustion. Mia, she's your sister.
I know.
But being related doesn't mean I have to keep accepting disrespect. After the call, I sat on the couch, the weight of everything pressing on my chest. Jasmine joined me, munching chips.
You okay?
I'm tired, I said. I keep waiting for her to choose me. Just once. Jasmine nodded. Maybe she never learned how. Some mothers love through control. Then maybe I have to love her from a distance, I murmured. That night, I opened my Freedom Fund app. It wasn't much, just a few $100s, but it represented something sacred, choice. As the city lights flickered outside, I made a vow. I wasn't going back until I was treated as someone whose voice mattered. And deep down, I knew, the next time I stepped into that house, it wouldn't be as the girl who left broken. It would be as the woman who learned to build her own peace. By the time October rolled in, the air in Atlanta had cooled, and my life had finally found a rhythm. I'd wake before dawn, do my devotionals, make a quick breakfast, and head to work at the office. In the evenings, I'd attend my online nursing classes and sometimes help Jasmine study for her finals. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. My schedule, my choices, my peace. The office felt different from anything I'd known, clean, organized, full of people who didn't know my history. I liked that. I could be whoever I wanted there. My supervisor, Ms. Carter, was a tall woman with locks and a voice like calm thunder. The kind of woman who made you sit up straighter when she entered the room. You handle yourself well, she said one afternoon, watching me deal with a difficult client on the phone. You've got patience. Not everyone does. Ever thought about management training? I blinked, surprised.
Me?
She smiled.
Yes, you.
Don't play small. I see leadership written all over you. That moment stuck with me for weeks. No one at home had ever told me I was capable of leading. I'd always been the responsible one, the fixer, the cleaner, the one who picked up what Jayla broke, literally and emotionally. After work, I started journaling again. Not the sad pages I used to write at home, but new ones, goal lists, gratitude entries, affirmations. Each night, I wrote the same line at the bottom of every page. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just growing. On weekends, Jasmine and I turned her tiny living room into our peace zone. We'd light candles, play soft R&B, and talk about dreams we'd been too afraid to say out loud. I want to start a podcast, Jasmine confessed one night. About young Black women in healthcare, the struggles, the expectations, the stereotypes. I grinned. You'd be great. You've got that voice people listen to. She pointed at me. You're coming on the first episode. We'll talk about boundaries and family drama. I laughed. Girl, that'll be a whole season. We both cracked up, and for the first time in a long while, laughter didn't feel forced. It felt like healing. A few weeks later, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it but picked up.
Hello.
The voice was shaky but familiar.
Mia, it's me.
Jayla. My stomach tightened.
Yeah,
Silence. Then a sniff. Can you come home? I messed up. My first instinct was anger. Another mess, another plea. But her tone wasn't the same as before. There was fear in it. Real fear. What happened? I asked. I'll explain when you get here, she said softly. Please. When the line went dead, I sat staring at the wall. Jasmine looked up from her notes. Everything okay? I sighed. It's Jayla. Something's wrong. She gave me that look only best friends can give. The one that says, you know what you need to do. I nodded. Yeah. Time to face home. The drive back felt endless. The streetlights blurred through my windshield, and every mile closer made my chest tighter. The house looked the same when I pulled up. The chipped steps, the porch light flickering, Mom's curtains drawn halfway. As I stood at the door, I heard faint voices inside, one angry, one trembling. I took a deep breath and knocked. It was time to return. Not as the girl who ran from chaos, but as the woman who learned to create calm within herself. The door opened before I could knock again. Mom stood there, her face drawn and tired, the kind of exhaustion that came from more than lack of sleep. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The tension between us hung heavy in the air like rain about to fall. Nia, she said finally, her voice quieter than I'd expected. You came. Jayla called me, I replied, trying to read her expression. She said something happened. Mom stepped aside and motioned me in. The living room looked smaller than I remembered. Same beige walls, same framed photos, same smell of lavender spray. But something felt different, defeated. Jayla sat on the couch, knees drawn up to her chest, her hoodie pulled over her head. Her eyes were red, either from crying or lack of sleep. Probably both. When she looked up and saw me, her lips trembled. Hey! I didn't sit. What's going on? Mom folded her arms. Your sister got suspended. My heart sank. For what? Jayla's voice cracked. They said I cheated on my chemistry exam. But I didn't, Nia. I swear I didn't. I stared at her. Then how did they find your answers matched the test keyword for word? Mom cut in sharply. Don't start interrogating her. She's been through enough. I turned to her. I'm not interrogating her, Mom. I'm asking. There's a difference. She's telling the truth, Mom said firmly, standing like a lawyer in her own courtroom. Jayla wiped her eyes. They said I copied from the teacher's computer, but I don't even know how to hack anything. Somebody must have set me up. I sat down across from her. Okay, slow down. When did this happen? Last week, she whispered. They called me to the office, said they had proof. I tried to explain, but nobody believed me. Her voice broke, and I saw the same little sister I'd grown up protecting, the one who used to crawl into my bed when thunder scared her. Mom's voice softened. They're threatening to expel her if she doesn't confess. I've been calling the principal all week. So you need my help, I said quietly. Mom hesitated, then nodded. You're good with people. You always know how to talk sense into folks. It was ironic. After weeks of silence, the only reason she wanted me home was to fix something again. Part of me wanted to say no. But another part, the one that still cared, couldn't. I sighed. Okay, I'll talk to them. Jayla's eyes widened. You'd do that? Even after everything? Yeah, I said, forcing a small smile. Because that's what sisters do. The next morning, I went with them to the school. The principal's office smelled like old paper and coffee. Mr. Henderson, a middle-aged man with rimless glasses, looked at us like he was tired of the whole situation. Miss Collins, he said, glancing at Jayla, your record is good, but this is serious. The exam key was accessed from your student account. Jayla shook her head fiercely. I didn't do it. I left my Chromebook open in the library.
Maybe someone.
Enough, he interrupted. We'll review again, but if there's no new evidence by Friday, the board will vote for expulsion. I leaned forward. Mr. Henderson, I know it's not my place, but Jayla's never been in trouble before. If someone framed her, shouldn't the school investigate further before making that decision?
He sighed. We've done all we can.
But I'll keep her on suspension for now while we review the logs again. As we left, Mom squeezed my hand. Thank you for speaking up. He actually listened this time. I nodded, though my mind was spinning. Jayla walked ahead of us, quiet. That night, I sat beside her on the couch.
You sure you didn't do it?
She looked at me, eyes shiny with tears.
No,
Nia, I didn't. I promise. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. I'll help you figure it out, I said. But you have to promise me something too. She frowned.
What?
Stop acting like we're enemies. I'm your sister, Jayla, not your rival. Her lips quivered.
I know.
I just thought you hated me. I exhaled slowly. I never hated you. I just hated how invisible Mom made me feel whenever she defended you. Jayla leaned against me, her small voice breaking. I'm sorry. For the first time in years, we didn't argue. We just sat there, two sisters, broken in different ways, finally starting to understand each other. The next few days felt strange, like being back in a house that still wore the scent of your past, but no longer fit your spirit. I decided to stay for a while, just until we sorted Jayla's situation. Mom seemed relieved, pretending it was business as usual. She made pancakes the next morning like we hadn't gone weeks without speaking. But the silence between us wasn't gone, it had just changed shape. Jayla spent most of her time in her room, scrolling through her phone and occasionally muttering to herself. Every now and then, I caught her glancing at me like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. That afternoon, I started cleaning my old room, the one she had messed up weeks ago. It still smelled faintly of hairspray and perfume. My journals were stacked crookedly on the desk, and my closet door leaned slightly off its hinge. I picked up a picture frame from the floor, me and Jayla at my college graduation, her arms wrapped around me, both of us grinning wide. Funny how time turns joy into proof of what was lost. Mom knocked lightly on the door frame. You're cleaning again? I turned, wiping dust off the dresser. Somebody has to. She sighed. You always think doing everything yourself makes you strong. Maybe because nobody steps up when I don't. That shut her up. She folded her arms and leaned against the door. You think I don't notice how much you've done for this family? I think you don't show it, I said. And you never hold Jayla accountable for anything. Mom's jaw tightened. She's my child too. So am I said, my voice low but firm. But you treat me like the adult you can use and her like the child you can excuse. She flinched like the words had landed harder than she expected. You've always been stronger, Nia. I didn't think you needed protecting. That's the problem, I said, turning back to my cleaning. Strong people still need love. Later that night, Jayla knocked on my door.
Can I come in?
Yeah. She stepped in, holding her laptop. I need to show you something. She sat beside me on the bed and opened her email. I got this message the day before the exam, she said, scrolling down. I didn't think much of it then. The email read, Chemistry answers attached. Don't say I never helped you. There was no name, just a weird username, Science King 88. Did you open the file? I asked. She nodded. Yeah, but it was blank. I thought it was spam and deleted it. But what if whoever sent it used it to hack my account? That's exactly what happened, I said. We can show this to the principal. It proves someone targeted you. Jayla's eyes widened. You really think it'll help? It will, I said. But we'll do it together this time. The next morning, we met with Mr. Henderson again. Jayla showed him the email, and I explained how easily a school-issued Chromebook could be hacked through phishing links. He listened carefully, taking notes. By the end of the meeting, his expression had softened. Thank you for bringing this in. We'll forward it to IT. If what you're saying checks out, we'll lift her suspension immediately. Jayla exhaled deeply, tears welling up. Thank you, sir. As we left the office, she turned to me. You really didn't have to help me like this after everything I did. I smiled. That's what sisters do. We fight each other, then fight for each other. That evening, Mom called us into the living room. The school called, she said, holding her phone. They said the issue's resolved. Someone hacked multiple accounts. Jayla's cleared. Jayla grinned, relief flooding her face. Oh my God, really? Mom nodded. Really? They even apologized. She turned to me. And they said you explained things clearly. I'm proud of you, Nia. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. That word, proud, had always been reserved for Jayla. Thank you, I said quietly. Mom's eyes softened. I should have said that sooner. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat on my bed, clean, quiet, and finally mine again. I looked around and felt something new in the air. Not perfection, not even peace, but understanding. I picked up my phone and texted Jasmine. Things are getting better. Slowly, but better. Then I whispered to myself, smiling faintly, maybe home doesn't have to be the place that hurts, if everyone's willing to heal. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like the beginning of something new. Weeks passed, and life inside the house felt gentler, softer, like a wound beginning to knit itself back together. The shouting matches were gone. The slammed doors stayed open. Laughter, once rare, now drifted through the hallways again. Jayla had gone back to school, determined to rebuild her reputation. Mom started cooking more, humming to herself like she used to when Dad was still around. And me. I finally felt at peace in my own skin. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had learned how to protect my peace without needing permission. One Saturday morning, sunlight spilled through my curtains, washing my room in gold. My once chaotic space now gleamed with calm. I'd repainted the walls, framed my degree again, and hung new photos, ones that told a different story. Not just of pain, but of survival and growth. Jayla knocked softly before peeking in. Wow, she said, stepping inside. It looks beautiful. Thanks, I said with a small smile. It finally feels like me again. She looked around, eyes catching on one photo, the three of us at dinner, all smiling. Can I hang one like this in my room? I laughed. Sure. Maybe two. Just don't use my robe this time. She grinned sheepishly. Deal. We sat together for a while, talking about school, work, and dreams. She told me she wanted to study psychology, to understand people, maybe even help kids like us who grew up misunderstood. That made me smile. Growth wasn't about changing who you were. It was about choosing who you'd become. That evening, Mom called us both into the living room. On the table sat 3 cups of hot cocoa, a rare sight. I wanted to say something, she began, eyes glistening. You girls taught me something I didn't know I needed to learn, that love isn't control, and strength isn't silence. She reached for our hands. I'm proud of the women you're becoming. You don't know how much it means to see you two talking, laughing, helping each other again. Jayla squeezed her hand. We're learning from you too, Mom. Just the better version of you this time. Mom chuckled through tears. Fair enough. I took a sip of cocoa, warmth spreading through me. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for love to be proven. It was here, in the laughter, in the apologies, in the silence that no longer hurt. A few months later, I graduated from my nursing program. As I stood on the stage in my cap and gown, I scanned the crowd until I saw them. Mom waving proudly, Jayla holding a huge poster that read, Nurse Nia, the healer of hearts. After the ceremony, they ran up to me, hugging me so tightly I could barely breathe. I told everyone that's my big sister. Jayla squealed. Mom wiped her eyes. Your father would have been so proud. I smiled gently. Maybe he's watching from somewhere. The three of us stood there, a mother who'd learned to listen, a sister who'd learned to grow, and a daughter who'd learned that sometimes the hardest healing begins right where the hurt started. As we took our family photo, I whispered quietly to myself, this time, home feels